that's a wrap for today. Again, Zoe has some great tips and a great book. We'd highly recommend it. Take a look at 5 of those tips here and try to make them worthwhile in your world to help influence others. Welcome back. Today's terrific show is going to be on behavioral science that can make you better influence people. And it comes to us from a lady named Zoe Chance. Zoe is a professor at Yale and runs a course on mastering and influencing others with persuasion. It's important to understand that it's all about influencing and not just convincing people to make a change or to do something. Zoe wrote a recent book called Influence is Your Superpower, and we're going to go in and describe and understand 5 of the key concepts within that book. Tip number 1, making it okay for someone to say no makes it easier for them to say yes. And when we think about today, trying to influence someone means you are a threat to their most important resource, their time, their money, their pride, or their social capital. You are trying to take them and do something else. And more importantly, it influences their attention. Without their attention, that takes away, again, their most important resource. So what can we do about that? Well, soften your way of approaching them. For example, say, I know you're really busy right now. Is this an okay time? Or please don't say yes unless you really have the opportunity and really want to do this. Little things like that soften that blow and make it okay for them to feel like they can say no to you, but really they're okay saying yes at the same time. As you go through, remember, influence with someone doesn't happen over one conversation. It takes time to build it up and get to where you've earned their trust and they want to say yes to you. Tip number 2. Influence doesn't work the way you think because you don't actually think the way you think. Now that's a little tricky the way I said that, but let's remember there's 2 parts of your brain, the amygdala and the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex, or that rational judgment. What we're trying to influence here and make things easy is for that amygdala to make that quick subconscious reaction and a decision that will help you get the results that you want. So if you think about it, we want it to be an easy choice for someone to do something. When you make that rational brain kick in and think, it gives them time to put that logic together. But if it's an easy decision where the gut reaction says, yep, that's a good thing, it will be much easier for them to move forward. So how do we do this? Think about ways to make whatever you're trying to influence an easy decision as opposed to something you're pushing up against them. Tip number 3, the best predictor of behavior is ease. It's more powerful than motivation, price, quality, satisfaction, or anything like that. In fact, there's research for over 75,000 customers who are calling in for customer service. About 75 to 81% of them found that if they reported a difficult experience, they would call and complain, and they were more likely to tell one of their friends, colleagues, or someone else not to do it because it was so difficult to do. But on the flip side, 1% of customers who reported having like a really easy customer experience, they were more than happy to recommend it. So find a way to make what you're talking about as easy as possible for the person that you're trying to influence. Our next tip, being charismatic isn't something you are, it's something you do. And it's really important to understand that because even if you're not the most extroverted person or outgoing person, it's important to focus on the person you're talking to. That means eyes on them, listening to what they're talking about, being attentive. Zoe talks a little bit about Prince, the performer. And Prince, when he first started, he didn't even want to face the audience. He wanted to turn his back and play his guitar without facing the audience. His advisors told him, you have to face the audience, you have to be charismatic. Once he did that, he engulfed their attention, and with that, he built up trust with the audience. The same thing applies when you're talking to someone or trying to influence them. You have to find ways to engage them, to mirror them, and it's all about what you do, not about how charismatic you are. If you take those little steps, you'll be able to help influence the person you're trying to influence. Our last tip: authentic, lasting influence is a group project. And it's funny because as I read this tip, I thought about EQ Video Tip and all the other EQ lessons that are out there in the world. It's a group project. It's something that we all have to contribute to. And even if it means that only one person watches this video or reads the article that we talked about, that person has the power to amplify it to 2, to 4, to 8, to millions of people. So again, remember, your influence is a lasting project. When you're trying to influence someone, it's part of a whole team effort to make things happen. What I would recommend to all of you is be authentic and use that to help influence others and make them more aware and empathetic and compassionate around you in the world today. Welcome to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forstetter. We appreciate you taking 5 minutes of your time to watch our EQ Video Tip. Before we go into this week's show, let's review the goals of EQ Video Tip. So that concludes our EQ Video Tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ Video Tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.